morning, everybody. Happy April. Trevor and I are glad to be back with you, but we have an important guest with us today. If you remember, last time we were here, we talked about the property assessments, and that had just come out, and we said we were going to bring an expert back, and we did. So today we have Mr. Robbie Davis with us, who is on the Board of Commissioners with the Nash County, and he's actually chairman. So glad to have you here this morning.
Glad to be here. I appreciate the opportunity to come and talk on this subject a little bit. It's very important to our citizens and very much misunderstood in many cases.
Well, we as realtors have received so many calls,
Yes.
Bobby.
Oh my goodness.
Everyone is. I guess they're excited that their values have gone up, but they're also like, what does that mean? And yeah, it's the topic of the month for sure.
And I didn't realize until this morning that you have been a county commissioner for 22 years. Is that right?
Did you really have to bring that up? But yes, I have. This is my 23rd year. Yes, ma'am.
All right. So this means this is not your first time dealing with questions around property assessments.
Well, no, it's not my first time, but actually it's only the third time because it's only done every 8 years generally.
Very good point.
And
Yep.
we'll explain that just a little bit in a minute.
So tell us a little bit about how this process evaluation works every 8 years.
Basically, it's run by the general statutes. It's not a commissioner thing, and everybody in the state works, of course, every county works under the same statute. That statute allows the commissioners to pick the number of years they wish to do it or the frequency. The most common number of years is indeed 8 years. We have looked at doing it every 4 years. Our board chose not to. It's important for us in Edgecombe County to do it at the same time to cut down on the confusion of those people that live in Rocky Mount that may have properties in both counties. And so we always get with our board in Edgecombe County and decide if we were going to change it, we'd do it at the same time. We did have a meeting a number of years ago, discussed it, and quite frankly, there might have been one commissioner out of 14 that wanted to do that. The rest of us wanted to stick with the 8-year cycle. It's expensive to do it, number one. And if you don't have a lot of gain, it doesn't make sense to do it. And in the history of these two counties, it hasn't showed that we really needed to because our growth has generally been moderate and nothing like Wake County where you really need to do it more frequently, or Mecklenburg County where the values are changing so quickly. The goal is you're really supposed to have each property on the books at what it's really worth at that point in time as it relates to the same things that you use to put to have a property assessed to see what it's actually worth at that point in time.
So comps, we would use the term comps.
Comps is a good word.
Okay.
Thank you for bringing that up. But yeah, you need to use the comps around you to bring that value to the table, and we're required to keep it as close as we can. And as you said, a reval is what I term to be a blessing and a curse at the same time. You hear that statement all your life, but now I know what it means, quite frankly. And,
well, obviously, because you're a property owner in Nash County too, so this is impactful to you just as it is to all residents. And I actually live in Edgecombe County,
right.
And I didn't realize until just now that they partner together to do this at the, kind of the same time.
Well, we
which
need
makes
to do
sense.
it at the same time.
Yes, that makes sense.
Right, it does.
And who actually does the assessments?
Well, in my time, which has been 3 of them, the first time we did it in-house. The second time we did a blend of in-house and got a consultant to help us. This time we have done it totally with a outside consultant.
Okay.
We determined there are people available that do this for a living year in, year out, and we just determined we'd get a better job done if we put it outside. And every department we got has vacancies, almost, not all of them, but majority of them do, and so we don't have adequate staff to do it in-house anymore like we may have done. But we searched long and hard, the board, the administrative staff, to find the right people to do it. We had someone to do it 7 years ago, and we wanted to improve on what we got then, and so I think we've got the best Pioneer Associates that is available in our area to get. So I'm very pleased with the job that they've done. And you think about it, it's some 50,000 approximately parcels that
Wow.
they've got to look
Wow.
at and
Wow.
put a
Oh,
value
yeah.
on.
Yeah.
And it is interesting because not when you talk to different people, some people's went up substantially, some people's doubled, some people's didn't go up substantially. So there was some, as we talked to them, there was clearly a method to the madness, right? Because not everything went up at the same rate or frequency.
Exactly. It depends on the neighborhood you're in. It does depend somewhat on the condition of your property, the age of your property, and quite frankly, how your property is built, whether it has brick, whether it has vinyl siding, or what it has. All of that is looked at just like when you get your property appraised by a professional appraiser.
Okay.
I'm very pleased with the job they done. Are there mistakes made? Of course. If you deal with 50,000 pieces of paper, 50,000 files, you're going to make some errors.
Right,
We know
right.
that, and that's why the appeal process is so important.
So we wanted to make sure to discuss that today. The deadline for applying for an appeal is coming up,
It's
right?
coming up very quickly. It's the 15th of April. And I would so highly encourage any citizens that's not satisfied with the value they got to make that phone call on that piece of paper you've got. It tells you what number to call and get that appointment in. Now, they're all not going to be completed on the 15th.
Sure,
But
okay.
you need to have your name on the list. And if there's some extreme circumstance, like you were on a cruise overseas and you missed the deadline or something, our board is always flexible with our citizens, and I'm sure they would be accommodating to that. But just make the phone call, get your time slot, and go in and make your informal appeal if you want to do it informally. If you want to send it in, do your formal appeal, that's fine. And I will tell you, a lot of friends that I have and a lot of people have called me about it, I instruct them to do that. And the majority of them I hear back from, and they're satisfied after they have that meeting.
Okay. That's good to
I don't know how many have called me and told me it was a great exercise for them. They either understood why the value was like it was, or indeed they got some adjustment that made them
Feel
a lot
heard.
happier. And you know, like you say, if you listen to your people, they're gonna feel better whether it changes or not.
Right, right.
It is. It's pretty much a science, if you can call it a science, an abstract science. But there is a method for which this is done. They don't just pull numbers out of the air. And you've got 3 layers of appeal. You appeal to this consultant we've got first. Then it comes to the Board of Commissioners next. And we don't want many coming to the Board of Commissioners. I'll just tell you that up front. But if you're not satisfied at those 2, you do have an appeal process to the state of North Carolina.
So I
keep
didn't
yourself
realize
satisfied.
the appeal process went through the third party.
It begins with the
It
third party.
begins with the third party.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's probably a beneficial
Oh, it definitely
element
is.
that I
And,
wouldn't
you
have even
know,
considered.
Commissioners, elected officials are supposed to be part-time, and to hear it will be at least 1,000 appeals,
Right,
probably more than
right.
that. I wouldn't have got to 22-year status I have if we were doing that. And a lot of counties use an outside committee to do those appeals. We have always chosen to do them within our board. We feel more comfortable doing that, quite frankly.
Okay.
And does the city of Rocky Mount kind of just follow what the county assessments are?
Well, in the state of North Carolina, the county is the one that does the assessments.
Okay.
Got it.
For
Okay.
all municipalities or all towns within Nash County, we do that. And we handle the appeals. The only part the city would have, and I say the only part, but the very important part they will have is to set that tax rate once they get through their budget.
Ooh, let's talk about that topic.
Did I really say tax
I
rate?
know, you
You brought
did,
it
you
up.
did. So currently, the tax rate for Nash County is
67 cents.
67 cents
And
on the
it's been
dollar.
67 cents for 15 years.
Okay,
So
okay.
and our board works very hard and is very pleased to say that we maintained it for those 15 years.
15 years.
Well, and it's so attractive, that's why we have people moving here.
I think it certainly helps, and
Mm-hmm.
it really helps in industrial recruitment, because those
Yes.
recruiters,
Mm-hmm.
those site selectors, one of the early things they want to know, along with your schools, along with your availabilities of pleasurable lifestyle in your area, they want to know what that tax rate is. It's very important to them.
So with that being said, what percent does that, what dollar amount does that 67 cents bring to the total operating budget for the county? For, like the revenue that
Right.
60.
I'm not sure I have that in my head, but
Okay,
our total
okay,
budget
okay.
is about $130 million.
Okay,
Probably about 60% of that comes from ad valorem taxes.
gotcha. Okay, okay.
Somewhere in that range.
So I think what seems to be on so many people's mind is their new assessment going to be 67 cents? You know, is the tax rate probably going to stay 67, or do we not know that yet?
We do not know that yet.
Okay,
Well, I
okay.
will say we do know it will not stay at 67 cents.
Okay.
What it will be, and this is the unfortunate part, and several citizens have pointed this out to me. Our budget work sessions begin tomorrow morning.
Oh,
Board
we're
of
a day
Commissioners.
early, y'all.
Well, the Board of Commissioners will be locked in a room at the Ag Center for the next 2 days. We won't be allowed to leave. I'm only kidding. It is a public meeting, and anyone is welcome to attend that meeting, because
Okay.
when more than four of us are four or more in a room, it is a public meeting. And so actually, you heard Sandra say she would be filming those meetings.
Oh,
So
okay.
I'm sure
Okay.
she'll be showing them at some time. But that begins the process, and we have up until July the 1st to pass that budget.
Got it. Okay, okay.
We have been given some preliminary information. In the state of North Carolina, we are also required to publish what the revenue neutral rate will be. And
Oh,
what that
okay,
means
okay.
is, if we were to take the new values as we know them today, and we collected the same amount of revenue next year that we did this year, what would that tax rate be? The preliminary number that I have is between 57 and 58 cents is what it would be to generate the same amount of income.
That's about what the city rate is right now, City of Rocky Mount.
What you mean by that?
Then the tax rate for that too.
I believe they're,
0.58, I think.
I believe they're actually at 0.69.
0.6.
They're a little bit above Nash County.
Oh, okay.
And I do stand corrected on that, but I'm almost certain the property I have in Rocky Mountain, the bill's a little bit more than it is in the county,
Okay.
so I think it's about 68, 69 cents. But I will tell you, that is something that the citizens will have access to.
Okay,
They'll know what
okay.
that is. And then the poor 7 elected commissioners have the job before them to approve a budget that meets the needs of the citizens of Nash County at the lowest they can get that rate. Now, I'd like to point out something very important and why it's going to be so hard this year. We're doing our revow a year early. It's only been 7 years. And the reason we did it a year early is because the state of North Carolina made us do it a year early. They check
okay.
our ratios every year, and we got so far out of what values really were versus what they were on the books for. They were way too low. They speeded it up a year and told us you must do it a year early.
Okay.
We could have had to done it, they looked at it, and we almost thought we were going to have to do it at 6 years. So, but look back 7 years ago, our values, and if y'all been in the real estate that long, I'm not sure how long you've been in it, you would remember how tough a time that was 7 years ago.
Yes.
And the values in the whole county actually went down about 1%.
Wow.
Never had that happen before, because my other time we did have it was in the teens increase in value of 17, 18%, whereas now it's going to end up being about 42, 43% total increase in value. But to go for 8 whole years and not have any increase really put us in a pickle, quite frankly. And so I tell our citizens, you're really looking at a 15-year revow here, not at 7, not at 8,
Okay.
because you went from.
Maybe that's why the sticker shock feels so
It is. That's
significant,
very,
right?
very well said. That's why it's so significant, because we haven't had any increase in 15 years. And so we're behind, and our board worked so hard to keep that rate the same, but we're behind in some of the things that we must provide. All of us have heard a lot about salaries. Now, quite frankly, we've done very well at the county to look after our people by giving COLA raises, which is cost of living increases. I think we've probably done more over the last 7 or 8 years than any other county. I don't know that to be a fact, but we got to be near the top. But yet, particularly in public safety, because it got to be such a hot button in our state, in our area, and really in the nation, we are behind, and so our Board of Commissioners have asked our administration to do another pay study, even though we did one 2 years ago. We normally get 5 to 7 years out of those pay studies, to do another one on public safety, which is our Sheriff's Department and our Emergency Services Department. That has been done, and that will be looked at very, very carefully in what we need to do with salaries in those two areas. And we are indeed behind some there, and so we've got to make that adjustment, quite frankly, and we'll be making some improvements on the salaries for those people.
I think
Wow.
I feel like that is such a national topic too. We talked
It is,
about,
believe me.
right,
Yeah.
really. I mean, we talked about safety 2 meetings ago, Trevor, with downtown and what they've, that was particularly in the town of Rocky Mount, but what they've been doing and how important it is to be able to have good statistics, to be able to recruit these businesses, to be able to recruit, obviously, people to buy houses in our communities. So, this is such a timely topic. I hate that we're out of time. We're going to have Robbie back to maybe give us an update after tomorrow's meeting when you're locked in the room all day.
That was quick. It was indeed quick. I'd just like to appeal one more time. If you are not satisfied with what your new values are, to make that phone call, get yourself on the list, and go through that process.
Yes, it's so nicely organized how to do it. I had one client actually have her reduced by 20,000. It works, and
I've
there's a
heard
process.
as much as reduced by 200,000.
Oh,
Wow.
see.
So, please do that.
So you have, Trevor obviously had a client do that. I've had some as well where we had to pull some comps to kind of help them. So if there is anything that we can do, or obviously Robbie can do, we'll be happy to. Our phone numbers obviously show up at the end of the show. But anyway, just want to thank you so much for being here with us
Glad to
this
do it.
morning.
Thank you so
And
much.
appreciate you all for asking us to shed more light on this topic. We'll look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks. Have a great rest of your week.
Harper's Garden in Stone Center.